Right now, while your car sits in the driveway, your battery is dying. Not from age, from neglect. A specific kind of neglect nobody ever warned you about. Good life still left in them. They weren't worn out. Every one of them was killed early. Here's the part that should bother you. The thing killing them costs nothing to prevent. Takes about as long as making your morning coffee, and the people who sell you batteries have zero reason to ever mention it. Do one simple thing, and the battery that used to quit on you at 3 years can last 8, 10, even longer. Most drivers will never hear it because there's no money in a battery that refuses to die. Let me show you what's really killing it and the quiet habit that stops it cold. Start with what's actually happening inside that battery, because once you see it, you'll never look at a dead one the same way. A car battery makes its power through a chemical reaction between lead plates and acid. Every time you drain it, starting the engine, running the lights, sitting with the key on, the plates give up energy and a soft layer of lead sulfate forms across them. That part is completely normal. It happens every single time you use the battery. The magic is in what's supposed to happen next. When the alternator fully recharges the battery, that soft sulfate dissolves right back into the acid and the plates come clean again. Charge it, drain it, charge it back up. A healthy battery handles that cycle for years without complaint. Here's where it goes wrong. If the battery never gets fully recharged, if it spends most of its life sitting at half charge, that soft sulfate stops dissolving. It hardens, turning into solid crystals that lock onto the plates like rust seizing a hinge. That's sulfation, and it's the single biggest killer of car batteries on the road today. Every hardened crystal covers a piece of plate that can no longer hold a charge, so the battery slowly bleeds capacity until one cold morning it simply doesn't have enough left to turn the engine over. The reason most batteries never see a full charge comes down to how normal people actually drive. Short trips to the store, a 10-minute commute, a car that sits in the garage most of the week, none of that gives the battery what it needs. Starting the engine takes a huge gulp of power, and on a short drive, the alternator barely replaces what the starter pulled before you shut the car off again. Do that day after day, and the battery quietly runs at a deficit it never climbs out of. Here's what nobody at the parts counter is going to tell you. When your 3-year-old battery dies, they don't test why it died. They hand you a new one, ring you up, and send you on your way. To them, a battery is a consumable, something that wears out on schedule and gets replaced. And the shorter it lasts, the more they sell. But that schedule is a myth. A battery doesn't have a 3-year clock ticking inside it. The reason so many die right around that mark isn't the calendar. It's years of chronic undercharging finally catching up all at once. The people who actually care about battery life, the fleet managers and the old-timers, don't just bolt one in and forget it. They manage how it charges. And the tool they use to do it costs less than a nice lunch out, yet almost no everyday driver owns one. That tool, and the simple habit around it, is the whole secret. The difference between buying a battery every few years and buying one a decade. But a dead battery in the driveway is the friendly version of this story. What sulfation quietly sets up down the road costs far more than a jump start, and it almost never warns you first. Sulfation doesn't give you a warning light, and that's exactly what makes it so dangerous. A sulfated battery can crank your engine perfectly fine on a warm afternoon, then leave you stranded the very next morning the moment the temperature drops. Cold thickens the oil, the engine needs more muscle to turn over, and a battery already crippled by crystals just doesn't have it to give. You turn the key and you get a single click, or you get nothing at all. But the stranding is only the part you can see. There's a quieter, far more expensive kind of damage happening upstream, and most drivers never connect it to the battery at all. Your alternator's whole job is to recharge the battery while you drive. When the battery is healthy, that's easy work. Top it off and move on. But once the battery is sulfated and can't hold a charge, the alternator never gets to rest. It runs at full output, hour after hour, trying to fill a tank with a hole in the bottom. That constant strain cooks the alternator from the inside. The bearings wear, the diodes overheat, and a part that should have lasted the life of the car starts heading for an early grave. A neglected battery doesn't just cost you a battery. It quietly drags your alternator down with it, and that's a repair in a completely different price bracket. I've watched people replace a dead battery, drive off happy, and roll back in 6 weeks later with a charging system warning, never once connecting the two events. They were connected. The dead battery was the warning, and the alternator was the bill. Drop a comment below. Be honest, when did your car last sit a full week or more without being driven? That's exactly when this damage speeds up. Let me show you this in 2 cars that came through my shop, because the contrast tells the whole story. 2 Chevy Malibus, same model year, and I happened to put the same brand of battery in both within a couple weeks of each other. The first belonged to a man who drove 45 minutes of highway to work and 45 minutes home. Long, steady drives every single day, so his alternator had all the time in the world to keep that battery full. The second belonged to a woman who lived 8 minutes from her office, quick trip in the morning, quick trip home, car parked the rest of the time. 3 years later, both cars came in the same week for unrelated work, so I put a load tester on each battery. The commuter's battery tested almost like new. Strong, holding its voltage under load, plenty of life left in it. The short trip battery couldn't hold voltage at all, and when I cracked it open, the plates were coated in that pale, crusty sulfate, hardened on like scale inside an old kettle. Same battery, same 3 years. The only difference was whether it ever got a full charge. One of those drivers was set up to get a decade out of hers if she'd only known. Instead, she was about to buy her second battery, with no idea she'd done a single thing wrong. A retired teacher outside Columbus learned the financial side of this the hard way. She drove a 2015 Toyota RAV4 that spent most of its life parked in the garage. A trip to church, a run to the grocery store, the occasional visit to the grandkids. That was the whole week for that car. Beautiful low-mileage RAV4, and it ate batteries. She'd replaced one at $214, figured it was a fluke, and moved on. 2.5 years later, same story, dead in the driveway. Then came the morning it quit on her in a parking lot after a doctor's appointment, and she had to pay $96 for a tow because she couldn't get a jump fast enough. By the time she found me, she was convinced something was wrong with the car's electrical system, some hidden drain eating her batteries alive. There was no hidden drain. Her RAV4 was perfectly healthy. The car simply never drove long enough or often enough to recharge its own battery, so everyone she bought sulfated and died right on schedule. The fix wasn't a new alternator or some expensive diagnosis. It was a habit and a small tool almost nobody outside the trade bothers with, and she hasn't bought a battery since. Quick reminder, if this is the first time anyone has actually explained why your batteries keep dying, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. It helps us keep putting these out, because that small tool and that simple habit are exactly what I'm about to hand you. And you'll be surprised how little it costs and how little time it actually takes. So here's the habit that changes everything, and I promise it's simpler than you're bracing for. The tool is a smart battery maintainer. Some people call it a battery tender. It's a small box about the size of a paperback, with 2 clips or a little plug-in lead, and it runs around $34. Don't confuse it with the old trickle chargers from your father's garage. A dumb trickle charger just pushes current and can cook a battery if you forget about it. The smart version does the opposite. It reads the battery's voltage, charges only when the battery actually needs it, then settles into a gentle float that holds it at a perfect full charge. You can leave it connected for weeks and it will never overcharge. Here's how you actually use it. If your car sits more than a few days at a stretch, or you live on short trips like most people do, you clip the maintainer on while the car is parked overnight and let it pull the battery up to a true, complete charge. Some drivers leave it connected anytime the car's in the garage. Others plug it in one night a week. Either way, the battery spends its life full instead of half empty, and that soft sulfate dissolves away before it ever gets the chance to harden. That's the whole thing. It's the secret the parts counter prays you never learn, because a battery that stays fully charged simply does not sulfate, and a battery that never sulfates can outlast the car it's bolted into. While you've got the hood open, 2 more small moves stretch it even further. With the engine off and a pair of gloves on, loosen the cables, the negative one first, and check the posts for that white or green crust. If you find it, a little baking soda mixed with water neutralizes the acid. A cheap wire brush takes the posts back to bright metal, and about $11 in terminal protectant keeps the corrosion from creeping back. Clean metal lets the charge flow freely, while corroded posts choke it before it ever reaches the plates. And make sure the battery is clamped down tight, because a loose battery vibrates as you drive, and that shaking knocks the plates apart from the inside. 30 seconds with a wrench buys you months. Do all of that, and a decade out of one battery stops being a fantasy. It won't hold true for every battery in every climate. Brutal heat punishes them no matter what you do, but keeping it charged is the single factor that separates the batteries that die young from the ones that just keep going. Let me put real numbers on what that little box saves you, because this is where most people finally see what they've been handing over every few years. The maintainer is a one-time purchase. You buy it once, it lasts for decades, and it works on every car, truck, and motorcycle you'll ever own. Against that, look at what the slow road costs. The driver who lets a battery sulfate is buying a new one every 2 to 3 years for as long as he owns the car. Stretch that across a decade, and you're easily into a 4th battery. And the moment the dealer talks you into a premium AGM you didn't need, you're handing over $367 a pop. Then there's the part nobody budgets for. Remember that alternator getting cooked trying to charge a battery that won't hold a charge? When it finally quits, that repair runs around $548 with parts and labor on most cars. A bill that traces straight back to a battery nobody ever kept full. On one side, you've got a small box that pays for itself the first time it saves a battery. On the other, a parade of replacements, a roadside tow on the morning you least expect it, and a charging system being quietly run into the ground. And none of that counts the day it strands you somewhere you cannot afford to be stranded. A job interview, a hospital visit, a dark parking lot at the edge of town. This was never about turning you into a mechanic. It's about refusing to be the man who buys the same part over and over, while the people selling it quietly count on him to keep doing exactly that. And if your battery keeps dying, even when you do everything right, there's a different thief at work. Something on your car is draining it while you sleep, every single night, and most drivers don't even know that's possible. I made a video that walks you through finding that drain and shutting it off, and it's playing on the screen right now. Click it, and I'll see you there.